My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless. This is what's coming up.
If I was to talk about what I do, I would tell you I am a mama fua in the Kenyan context. That is what it's supposed to sound like in the Kenyan context. That means I do people's laundry and I clean for people. She used to do a lot of housework for other people. And some of these times I would go with her. I would go after school. She would tell me, find me at Mama Fulani's house at this particular house. Find me at this place. Because you see, we don't have a housekeeper or a house manager or anyone waiting on me to go home. So I would go to where she was. I would spend time with these families. I used to think these are privileged or rich families by then because they have what we don't have. But for some reason, I never even looked down on myself or even noticed it. Like it was so normal for us, for myself. And there were some really good families, like very supportive ones. I remember one family, they used to take care of us literally. Yes, my mom works for them, but at the same time, if I needed anything, like we were going for school games activities, I would go to this mama and ask her, hi, Shosh, today we're going for games. I don't have any money. And then she would give me like 20 shillings, one time 100 shillings. That was quite a lot back then.
That is Njeri's story, Loise Njeri, and we're going to get to it in a couple of minutes in this episode. But before we do, I hope you're doing good. I hope you're well. I have to say a big thank you to everybody who signed up for our wellness talk. We had it this past weekend, and oh my word, we were so floored as a team because first and foremost, Faith, our guest speaker, also my therapist, and she was joined by her colleague Yvonne. They did an incredible job. Oh my goodness. The presentation was out of this world. The advice they gave, the resources, and of course, everybody who attended gets Faith's presentation, contacts, etc. afterwards. But that's not the only thing that really made us feel so wonderful as a company, as an organization. We had people attending from all over the world: Australia, Tanzania, South Africa, Addis Ababa, so Ethiopia, Kigali. Here in Kenya, it was not only Nairobi, there was Nakuru, there was Machakos, there was Meru, there was Kisumu. And so wherever you are listening to this from, I want you to know I truly appreciate you being part of this family. I really do. We dedicate our work, be it events or our programming, so our shows, to African women, wherever you are. And this is a place for us to commune. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Goodness. This is a place for us to commune and to heal and to see ourselves in each other. You know what I mean? And so it's so wonderful knowing that wherever you are in this world, you feel like you belong here. It means we're doing our job right. My goodness, like I genuinely have tears. You know that feeling you get in your gut before the tears start coming out? Yeah, I have that. So I'm going to try and like hold them in. Because also I have fake lashes. That took me so long to put on. My goodness, I'm not about to ruin them. But this past week, we started the first steps to extending for mannerless women in terms of the guests outside of Kenya. And I wrote out this dream list of African women in the diaspora, outside of Kenya, but on the continent, who inspire me. And then I told my team, let's just reach out to them. You know, worst they can do is say no. 2 of the people I really wanted have already said yes. And one of them is like a global icon. Like, I can't say any names yet. One is a global icon. The other has written a book that I'm on my 4th time reading because I love it so much. And it has everything to do with pleasure. But guys, like we're really expanding and we couldn't have done it without you. And I feel emotional because I'm thinking about the beginning where we started in 2019. I think on the 11th of March, if I'm not wrong. With a shaky voice, I was crying. I think episode 1 was what? And episode one, of this show was about 8 minutes long. And I just sound like a mess. I sound like a damn mess. If you have not listened to it, please go and listen so that you can appreciate the growth. But before we jumped into the story, I really just wanted to tell you thank you. Thank you for being here. So, in this episode, you're going to listen to the story of Loise Njeri. And I love how she says that from the outside, she's just a girl who does laundry. And in Kenya, in Swahili, we loosely term it as mama fua. But as much as she says she's just a girl who does laundry, what you're about to hear and why I love the story is that there's nothing just about her journey. From where she grew up to watching her mom to navigating school to getting her to what she is today, this is like hustling 101. And the reason I love this story is it's that reminder of how unshakable your drive should be. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
Hello, my name is Loise. Currently, from the outside perspective, I am just a girl who does laundry to myself. It is what I do for a living. It is what I do for my people. And it is what is keeping us where we are and part of the main reason why we are where we are right now. If I was to talk about what I do, I would tell you I am a mama fua in the Kenyan context. That is what it's supposed to sound like in the Kenyan context. That means I do people's laundry and I clean for people. But over time, I think we have transformed that to be a business, a real business that is satisfying and has other people relying on it full time. And it has not been a one day turn of events. It's something we have been able to build, or I have been able to do in quite a long time. Okay, I grew up in Nyandarua. Actually, I was born and raised in Nyandarua County, Kinangop, a place called Engineer, if anyone knows it. So it's a small town slash village, mostly village. And then it was just a humble family. I lost my dad when I was quite young. So I grew up with just my mom and my two brothers, but with a very big extended family, cousins from both mom's and dad's side, grandparents and all of that. But it was a very basic kind of village lifestyle. I didn't know much, I didn't expect much. And especially being raised by a single parent, and then the age gap between me and my siblings is like really tiny, minute, small. So meaning like when you were going to school, we were like one class ahead of each other. So when you got to stages like high school or the stages where money is actually needed for things like education, sometimes it got quite tough. But for some reason, I think I was a bright kid. I can say I was one of those kids who had it easy with books in school. So things like scholarships, they were easy for me to get. I was never really focused on books. I still am not, but for some reason, I was always top of class, top of every academic thing, no matter how less of focus I give it. So for me, I think primary school was not so tough because you see, I had an easy time with academics myself. At the same time, I used to watch my mom do everything to keep us in school. Um, One time, just to jump ahead a bit, someone asked me, why did you decide to do laundry and not any other business? And then I told them, I don't know, maybe it's a business gap. But looking back right now at this moment, I think it's because, and I hope it's not a bad thing, it's probably what I watched my mom do for people like, I don't know if I am dragging myself behind by doing what I watched someone who struggled to do, but I think I'm doing it differently this time around. I am reliving a life, but in a better way. So my mom, how it was for her when I was growing up, you see now she's a single parent and it's in the village. So you need money. You have like 3 kids and an extended family, and you need to make money for school, for food, for everything else that we need. So she used to do a lot of vibaroas, that is local jobs. She would dig farms. She would do a lot of housekeeping for people. I think that is a part of me. that I thought was well forgotten, but turns out it is not. She used to do a lot of housework for other people. And some of these times I would go with her. I would go after school. She would tell me, find me at Mama Fulani's house at this particular house. Find me at this place because you see, we don't have a housekeeper or a house manager or anyone waiting on me to go home. So I would go to where she was. I would spend time with these families. I used to think these are privileged or rich families by then because they have what we don't have. But for some reason, I never even looked down on myself or even noticed it. Like it was so normal for us, for myself. And there were some really good families, like very supportive ones. I remember one family, uh, they used to take care of us literally. Yes, my mom works for them, but at the same time, if I needed anything, like we were going for school games activities, I would go to this mama. She passed on, rest, maybe her soul rest in peace, and ask her, "Hi, Shosh, today we're going for games. I don't have any money." And then she would give me like 20 shillings, one time 100 shillings. That was quite a lot by then. So I think that is why I never looked down on that kind of a job. It sustained me. It sustained my brothers and all of us right now. I am the last born, so it means everyone else is way ahead in life. So I think looking back, that kind of shaped the person I am. And then when I went to high school, I went to national school. I went to Michael's Eldoret. When I went to high school, once again, I thank God for some reason I've never had an easy time, a hard time with books, although I'm not a book person or a very gifted reader, academic person, but I always have it easy that side. So when I went to high school, I had a bit of a culture shock because you're seeing all these people from different places and everything. I think that's some 4 years of my life that I never go much into, but they shaped me into who I am today. It was a good chapter. Uh, Along that period, I had a lot of scholarship offers. When you're a bright kid, I think somehow everyone wants to come in and support academically, especially when you come from a very remote area where no one expects you to go to these premier schools or to perform in a certain way. So I never had issues with things like school fees because we had support, scholarships, supports. But I can remember, um, I think I never used to get a lot of family support when I was in high school, but I can't blame them. It's because they couldn't at that point. You see, now we're 3 kids, actually 4. There was someone else who was supporting. We are like 4 kids. At the same time, all of these people need school fees. They're in good schools. They need money, they need support. So me, I'm from Nyandarua, I'm in Eldoret. That is quite a distance that needs money to maneuver for the parent to come for visiting days, all these academic clinics, a lot of Sunday visits. I didn't have that. And as much as I was a very contented or sufficient person and I didn't mind it. I used to understand why my family cannot do that for me. Of course, there's always a part of you that says, yeah, I wish there was someone doing it for me. Still, that comes to shape into who I am right now, taking care of other people. Like some of the things I didn't get earlier. If I look back right now, that is where I am, trying to take care of others. I think when we start talking about what I do, this will probably add up a bit more. Culture shock in high school, especially for preteen, early teenage years. It means where you come from versus where you are like polar opposites, like super opposite of each other. I come from the village. I am the brightest kid there. Whatever marks I score, I feel like, I'm the best performer in the village queen in short. And then your mom works really hard. So when you go into high school, she will ensure she gets you like whatever you think is cool at that time. But then you get to school and you see um, what a national school looks like, a tier one school looks like. Kids have been dropped by choppers, others by, I don't know, others by things I've never seen. And let me tell you, the kind of life I saw, especially in the first term, before now I started having friends and everything, and that first term was extremely like scary in a way. I couldn't even like, I think I was like second last in my class in terms of performance. It was a whole term of shock. And then I couldn't even speak in English well. I can't like without shrubbing and everything. You see, I cannot be able to communicate. So if the teachers ask something, I want to hide. If someone talks to me, I don't want to respond because I can't. I am not eloquent. I do not know how to present myself. Everything is a shock. The toilets, the dormitories, the food, everything to me is shock. So, but with time, I think by the time we got to the second term, I got a few friends. One of the things life teaches you is that you just need one person to work with you. I found this girl who became friends, and somehow life became easy, and I got back on the horse, academic wise, and every other term. But the culture shock when I got to that school is something I always live to remember. And yeah, so I think that was it. That was high school life. And then after high school, I got my first job. You see that period before the school results come out and before you join college, university. I got my first job. What was my first job? My first job was going with my mom to the local farms and housekeeping duties, whatever she was doing by then. Actually, it had money. It's not like a lot of money, but in the village, if someone pays you 300 shillings, cash, Kenya shillings, I think that's sufficient for someone in the village. So I did that with her. But then again, at the same time, there's people I think I've never paid credits to, and they shaped me a lot. There's some friends of our family who told me, come with us to Nairobi, where we live, spend a couple of months or a couple of weeks with us, see life from a different, perspective. And my mom was the one who agreed before I even could. She was like, yes, this kid, she's bright. She needs to see more. Before she thinks to do what we do here, let her go see life. Let her go see something different. So that family was living here in Lavington. So yeah, down here in Lavington, they're a good family. So I stayed with them for, I think it was 3 or 4 months, I think. I'm not very sure. It's some time back. But I lived with them, and I think that transformed me in some way. I didn't know it then that that exposure helped me, because you see, I was still a kid, and to them, I'm a child, so I'm still under their care in a way, but it opened me up. Me watching them do the jobs they did, their businesses, the way they raised their kids. I think me being in that environment, seeing what is the gap, what is needed, if you have it all, because in my eyes, they had it all. When you have it all, what are the gaps? What do you need? I think it really shaped me. And then after like 3 months, I got a job in the village as a teacher. I think all of us who have, when you finish high school, somehow there's always that village school that wants you to come and teach. So I taught a local school. And funny thing, it was a high school. Yeah, it was a high school in my area, a good school. I was teaching chemistry and CRE, that's religious education. I don't even know how the two connect, but I was teaching anything and everything. And then after that, I applied now for uni. I went to Maseno University. In college, when I was in uni, I yes, I did study, but I think I am one of the people who can say they spent a good percentage of their time in the outside curricular activities, trying to learn other things. I feel like academics is easy, but there's real life. And especially when you come from a humble family like we do, or like I do, you cannot just take all your time and focus on one thing only. You have to do multiple things. When you feel this is not moving at the pace you want, you have to pace yourself up and do something better. So in campus, I think we used to do a lot of gigs and hustles that my mom doesn't even know to date, or my family. We used to go for marketing gigs. You see these product activations. I think I did for Nivea, I did for Tusker, the ones for, the alcohol, the brewery companies. I worked for a lot of them in promotions. Sometimes they would pay us, sometimes they wouldn't pay us. But I think that little money, if you earn 1,000 bob in a day and you're a student, that is good money. So I think I've hustled my way through life the toughest way. And then around 2 years in university, actually 2 years, just 2 years, I think there was a strike in school which had us home for quite some good time. During that time, I think that is when I was starting to notice things about myself, things I'm good at. Apart from maybe what now whatever my mom taught me, housekeeping and everything, I started realizing that I'm actually good with photos, taking photos. And by good luck, someone had a camera still now in the village. Now you see the people I grew up with, the kids, they have gone to colleges, we are exposed now. You see people with cameras, with things we didn't have. So a friend of mine had a camera, so I started borrowing it, taking photos in events. Now in the village events, church events, burials, those are funerals, harambes. I used to be a local photographer, still hustling. So, and then one day I got noticed by someone who was working for the then county government of Nyandarua. Actually, office of the governor. You see, now that's a good place. That's a good space. They was like, come for an internship in our place. Just come have a good experience in our office. He was director of communications for the then governor. So I joined that office. I started doing photos and everything. It was a good experience. I think when looking back at all the things I've done to date, I think among the top two things I've fallen in love with in terms of career, that is one of them. That experience I had when I was working for that office by then, that was second year in uni, a very young girl. When I finished school, or every other time now we were on school holidays, I would still go to the same office. And somehow they'd always take me in. I didn't even need a lot of formal applications. They'd always take me in. Okay, when I was called to Maseno University, when I was admitted to Maseno University, I was admitted for a course in communication and media. I was supposed to major with public relations. Actually, that is what I did. Yeah, but I am not practicing right now, unless I am practicing privately for my own brand. I think that is the most practice I'm doing right now. But I got to practice when I was working in the governor's press service. I got a lot of exposure in the industry, that line of work, and I knew it is what I wanted. But then I'm not putting blame games on anyone or anything like that, but I didn't get a job then. And I am not an entitled girl to think that I deserved to get an opportunity and not another person. But I felt I needed the opportunity. I pushed myself so much, so much. Sleepless nights, working even on all your off days, volunteering, doing anything and everything you can feel like. I feel like this is the right space for me. But it didn't work out. And once again, I am not entitled. I'm not here to say that I was supposed to get an opportunity there. Yeah, life works out in its own way. So, and then at the same time, I started now searching for jobs. Actually, this is not long ago. This is like 2, 3 years ago. Yeah, just the other day in the 2020s. I think 2022 now, just the other day. So I applied. My best friend sent me a link. There were jobs being advertised by a bank. There were service center jobs, call center jobs. You see, the communication team, service center, things like emails, calls, especially call center. That was the first role. We applied, both of us, and I got the job. So I started working. That is when I moved from Nyandarua to Nairobi. I started working. I did that for almost 2 years. And that is also an important chapter of my life, as much as it also didn't work out, like, but it was an important chapter. I think when I was doing call center, when I was doing that office, I learned a lot about customer service, customer engagement, and what it takes to grow and sustain a brand or an individual's company. I learned a lot. And I think everything I learned there is what I'm applying right now. But I felt it was not sufficient for me over time. When I was starting, I was so satisfied. You have your first job, you're making money, no matter what amount or how small or how much, you're making some money for yourself. You can finally be the girl who sends some money to your mom back at home. If someone is in need, you're able to support, you see that excitement. I had that excitement when I started. But then at the same time, still on the first year of that employment, I was feeling like I am not doing well. You see, let's go back a bit. I am someone who has always not struggled with doing things excellently. But now here comes an assignment that's I feel like I'm not performing. And then I think that is the time I realized it's not me. It cannot be me. I cannot be the problem. It has to be where I am or the line I'm trying to build myself around. It has to be the not satisfied aspect has to be what I'm doing. So that is when I now started thinking, do I look for another job? And then I'm telling myself, if I look for another job, where am I going to get a job? You throw in, let's say, almost 1,000 applications. And everywhere you get, you see the usual. Thank you for your application. But after review, we have decided to proceed with someone who is better suited for this role. The usual. And then I think that is that point you ask yourself questions. If I stay, it breaks me. If I leave, it might break me. So I think you now choose to go with that has a better chance. Because if you feel like you're trapped in a system and you can escape, why not escape? So it was not a good experience for me. The job is okay and the company is perfect. But for me, it was just not it for myself. I felt like I could do better. So that time I'm now living, I think I'm still living the same place I'm living right now. It's just the other day. So from the little money I was earning and my little savings here and there, I had already been able to buy a washing machine that was on my balcony. So I think I'm a clean freak in a way. So that was one of my first big girl purchases. I want to stay clean. I want to do my laundry through and through. You see that? And then my friends used to come and do their laundry from my place. And then at one point, they're like, hey, see, I just buy the soap, the detergents today for you. I'll come do my laundry. Or if you have some free time, load it into the washer for me. You're a washer now. So it started, I think they don't want me to be done buying all this stuff since it takes money. But then, so one of my friends was like, Aki, I cannot be able to come, but I really need laundry done. Could you please do it for me? I'll pay you. And I'm like, no, I can't take money. Really? But then I look around and notice where I am. We don't even have things like laundromats. And Mama Fuas, even if myself I wanted one, sometimes it's hard to find one. Sometimes it's actually hard to find someone you can trust to do your housework when you're not there, to take care of the housekeeping. So for the first time, I think I did laundry and I got paid. It was like 500 shillings, but I was like, you see, I think this is something you can build on. For the first time, you've made money from something that is not this job you're trying to break out of. And then I started doing random research online. I found a girl online, YouTube and TikTok, and she's an American, I think. Her name is Jessica in the Mess. And I noticed the reason I was searching that is to see how else can I make laundry better? How can I make this a perfect experience that someone can actually pay for? So this girl used to do laundry from her home for clients and drop it in her car and everything. And she'd get her money. So I didn't have a car. I cannot be able to pick and drop. I don't have like a relationship with a rider. I don't even have a bike to drop off laundry. But I started like word of mouth marketing to people around where I was staying. And I was surprised to get orders. Like, you see, there's a shop, a minimart close to where I live. And the owner of that minimart was not even a friend, someone, let's just say an acquaintance, because I buy from him all the time. I was like, hey, Mutweri, can I just put this poster on your shop? I want to do people's laundry. If they ask you any questions, just tell them to call the number there. They're my number now. And I left that poster there. And then I was surprised that weekend I'm getting calls. Sasa, would you come and clean my house? Would you come and wash for me? And I couldn't, because you see, I have another job by then. So I couldn't do that. But then over time, through that small marketing, I started getting orders and I realized I can actually make money from this. So I used to take people's laundry or have them drop at my apartment gate, and then I pick it from there, do it from my house, fold, iron, get it ready, and then have it dropped by this rider, motorbike guy I became friends with, and I would pay them. It was very tiresome because you see, I have a full-time job and I need to perform. As much as I'm trying to do my own things, remember, this is also someone's company. You need to perform, you need to do well for their business also. But now I have this side hustle that I'm doing. I used to wake up sometimes 3 a.m. so that by 6 a.m. I'm done. And then I can maybe leave the clothes drying, and then I'll organize with the housekeeper, the caretaker of where I was living, that lady, to come and have them delivered to the clients. But I used to wake up very early, 3 a.m. or sleep past 1 a.m. just to make sure I deliver this. At some points, I think like almost 2 months now doing that, I noticed I was making I think 12 to 15,000 a month. And I was so excited because you see, this is money aside from what you're doing. And for the first time in your life, you have something else that's paying you. So I never used to spend that money. I used to just save it up because I used to survive with the salary. I'm not going to change anything. I used to save like all of that money. For some time, I did that.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. Ooh, what a powerful story. That is just part 1 of Loise's story. We're going to jump into part 2 next week right here on the show. So make sure wherever you're listening to this, you subscribe so you don't miss out on this. But even just from part 1, the drive is there. I'm not imagining this, right? Like you heard it too. Like you can hear her drive. And I think there are a couple of things that stayed with me, but the one that's top of my list is like sometimes the work we watched our parents struggle through becomes the work we choose, which isn't a bad thing because we choose to do it differently, and we choose to view it differently and label it differently. And I think that's a very powerful reframe because so many times you'll find many people running away from where we came from, sometimes with good reason. And if you find yourself doing the same things maybe your parents were doing, you respond to yourself with shame. But maybe you could add your own flair to it. You could see it as a means to an end. You could change it. And I can't wait for you to listen to part 2. You could honor it or elevate it. But part 2, she takes us deeper into her hustle, into her drive, and what it cost her to make certain leaps, and building something when you don't have the blueprint. That's coming next week, so subscribe so that you don't miss out on it. But while you're listening to the African stories on the show, maybe you get inspired to want to share your story on the podcast. In the show notes, we do have our storyteller form. Fill it out, and one of our correspondents will get back to you. But once again, I feel like gratitude is my theme in this episode. Once again, thank you so much for being part of this family. I truly appreciate you. Like, I'm not just saying that. I say it in every episode. It's not pre-recorded. Like, I mouth it to you every episode because I truly mean it. And I really think that you have every single thing it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.